chaos. What's going on?
I'm here.
Bring it out. I hope everyone can hear us.
Right. Hello, willkommen.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
What's Happy New Year in French?
Bon Noël Nouveau.
Feliz Anno is not French.
Latin. That's lucky. Felix is lucky.
Feliz Navidad, isn't it? But
Yeah.
for the year.
Anyway, welcome. It's Amish Inquisition time. Episode 360 on Sunday, the 12th of January, 2025. Woohoo! I'm Phil.
I'm Ben.
And I'm Matt.
And tonight we're very happy to be joined, if I can remember to unmute him, by Mark Bajerski. How we doing, Mark? He's having
No,
me
I'm just kidding.
He's having me on. Yeah, I know what you're like.
How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, very well. Glad to be with you guys. Sorry I haven't got a drink, but yeah, there you go.
I'm taking your advice, and I'm
Cheers.
starting on the Doom bar, Mark. So,
Ben's on water tonight.
Yeah, I'm with you, Mark, on the Corporation Pop.
before we get into it, I should say quickly, thanks to Dom from Sheep Farm for connecting us. We were chatting back in December, weren't we?
Yeah, it was. You jumped on to one of the lives. He just decided to do a live, and I jumped on, and you jumped on. Is that right? And then we had a chat.
Yeah, I did an accidental podcast.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah,
with an accidental psychic.
You were saying before about alcohol, about you've given up pretty much. You have the odd sip very rarely now. Like you've had your journey with alcohol has taken a turn for the
Better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for various reasons, my own personal health and well-being. That when I was young, like you guys, used to have a drink. Actually, I didn't drink in my first marriage. I didn't drink at all. I used to go out clubbing, and I used to just have like whatever pop there was, a Coke or something. I wasn't really bothered. I was more a dancer. That music that we're playing just then, that's the kind of music I'd be doing my robotic dancing to. I used to be a professional robotic dancer. Excellent. And I toured the world dancing. And I loved it. So I wasn't really bothered about alcohol so much. I wasn't really. Yeah, all right. I was a bit of a flirt. I gotta admit, maybe a bit of a flirt. And I used to like dancing, but I used to like more than anything. It wasn't the flirting; it was wanting people to be happy. So I used to dance and make people laugh. So I used to be on podiums and dancing, and people used to actually ring me up, and say, "Where are you going tonight?" Like, "Oh, I'm going to this club or that club." Okay, we're coming, because they enjoyed the fun and the laughter that we had. And I went through a period of doing all the raves as well. So I was a Marmite Quaver raver, and I did all the rave scene. I was in Ibiza, Coup when it first started, Man of Mission, I think it's called now. So I went through all that clubbing scene, and just enjoyed myself. Dom was around too. I was following him when he was doing live acts, because he was a professional singer too. So enjoyed that. And it was just great. We had great times. And then I started drinking somewhat. And to be honest with you, I preferred it. I preferred the start of the night where I'd get ready and get dressed up and sing Erasure in front of a mirror and get drunk with a bottle of wine, then go out, and then I'll be back within an hour, because I was that drunk. I just had to come home.
Right.
Yeah, sad life, really. But that's the journey of an accidental psychic. That's the beginning of the journey. But you've got to go through it, right? You've got to experience life, all that it brings to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the thing with alcohol is it especially to excess, it totally dulls your senses. And we've all had that experience of waking up the morning after and having essentially no memory of the previous 12 hours. What have I done?
And to the extreme as well, certain people do tend to, without realizing, they're actually harvesting certain frequencies and energies, which in my humble world is called entities, attachments, and trapped spirit. So when you vibrate at a certain frequency with alcohol or drugs, medication, fear, lots of other things, you can kind of open yourself up without you knowing to the other realms that can come in. And then, you know, you've often seen on TV when somebody says, I don't know why I did it, I just did it. You know, this feeling of you think, oh, I got braver because I got drunk. No, that's not what it is. It's that you've got an attachment, and it's manipulating you to punch somebody in the face or be angry or jealous. And that's normally attachment.
Shit, I think I was vibrating on all frequencies last time I was out.
Yeah, you were. I can vouch for that.
I've heard this. I don't know if it
Yeah,
was.
it was on the podcast. Somebody else was talking about attachments
And armor as well.
and the spirit.
Well, we call it spirits, don't we? Hard liquor.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, alcohol. If you look at the word alcohol and read up on it, you'll see it basically means that your body becomes a vessel for other entities. So you're basically open wide to receiving the darkest of energies. That's why a lot of people do bad things on alcohol. I used to just laugh on alcohol. I just used to laugh, but that was just my temperament. But some people, like my brother, opposite. He would, you didn't want to be around my brother when he's had a few drinks.
Yeah, you're essentially, your consciousness is vacating your body when you've drunk a certain amount of alcohol, and that, like you say, it leaves you wide open.
Yeah, this is the interesting subject. Where does your consciousness go? Is it suppressed, or does it actually leave the body and something enters the body and takes over it? It's really interesting subject, depending on what's going on. I mean, sometimes you can have a battle with it, and sometimes you can just go with it, and most people go with it. I had a really bad attack with what's called a trapped spirit, and I was basically shouting at the trapped spirit and screaming and effing and blinding at it, saying, get out of my body, because I just started this field of work, of psychic work and healing work. So I kind of knew by my clients what was going on. So somebody else who was going through this wouldn't understand it, and they'd probably scream and shout at somebody and maybe hurt somebody or do something, not realizing that it's an attachment. And these attachments, the trapped spirits, normally hang around the places where alcohol, hospitals, and other places like prisons and so on, graveyards, they hang around there as well. So depending on what your energy frequency is like, depends on whether they can enter into you or not. So if you vibrate at health and happy energy, normally that's a really strong protection, and they can't get through that. If you vibrate at a low energy and you're feeling pissed off, you're upset, you've had a fight or argument, you've had some drinks, you may be on medication and so on, then you're easier to penetrate, so to speak.
How do you control like your own vibration then? Is it a conscious effort to, like, even if you're having a really shitty day, like a conscious effort to try and see the bright side and make a joke of it or something like that?
No, nobody really controls their consciousness, because nobody really is in their consciousness. They're in their brain. Most people are in their brain. So what you've learned in life is basically a computer program. So everything that you're talking to me about is what you've learned and experienced. It's not your consciousness. When you're in your consciousness is when you're meditating, when something happens profound and you can't explain what it is, but you have this all of a sudden knowing not to go down that street. That's your consciousness. That's who you are. But most of the time, you're a walking robot. You're an automaton, just thinking about what you've learned and what you've understood. But the real understanding of things is maybe when an apple hits you on your head and you have this burst of a moment of understanding, which I call a download. So when your consciousness, it awakes, and all of a sudden that awakening connects you to well, you can call it whatever you want, but I call it the source, our home world. And then all of a sudden you get a download, this eureka moment. That's when your consciousness, and it only happens sometimes for a brief moment. So most of the time we're just walking robots, thinking about what we've thought, what we've learned, what we've understood, and it's all in here like the computer program. That's all it is. So most of us don't really. That's why when you meditate or when you do healing, when you do things that take you away from the brain and you open yourself up and you're not thinking, that's when you get the download. And as healers, as what we teach people is that you've got to open your mind and clear it and become a vessel. And that's the hardest thing for anybody to do. Hardest for anybody who's super intelligent. It's even worse for somebody with a high IQ.
Have half a chance then.
Yeah, you've got, yeah. Well, that's why I did well. That's true.
Yeah. I've heard that language, the language of program, used in psychology. That people run programs, people get locked into different programs. Does that ring a bell?
There's a term.
But a bit like schema.
Well, I suppose the schema is the idea is that, well, my knowledge is it's a location where information is stored, I suppose, and the idea is you can change a schema, you can flip it around from a negative to a positive, kind of. The other term is the default mode network, isn't it? That's what they reference a lot in terms of like a pattern of thought, in psychology.
Yeah.
And the idea is that you can change that through different kinds of methods, I suppose. You know, but yeah, there's a lot of analogies, isn't there, to like computers and things like that.
Well, this is part of our culture, isn't it? We try and find mechanistic analogies for our biological or spiritual forms. So people talk about programs and networks and nodes and what they talk about in the brain, the things that fire, like neurons firing. They compare that to
very limited though, Phil. Our vocabulary, I can never say that, but the words that we have are very limited to what we really truly want to say, and that's why a lot of healers and those who work in that field of work struggle to find words for things that are no words. It's really difficult for us, you know, and thus we're looking for the words or a word. We can't find it, and that's why a lot of us say there are no words to the work we do.
Yeah. Have you been listening to the telepathy tapes, Mark?
I haven't, pal, no.
Yeah, I think you'd find it really interesting because it's along these sorts of lines. But I've binged it this week. I think I finished the last one today, 10 episodes. And it's all about, and I've not done any, like, I listened to the first episode and I was so tempted to go online and put telepathy tapes debunked, or just to find the opposite sort of argument, you know, what's going on here. But I thought, no, I'll give it a chance. I'll listen to the whole thing, give it a chance, and then I'll start looking to debunk it. But it's really interesting. It's about non-verbal autistic children mainly and young adults, and this sort of range of powers that they have. To put it lightly, it starts off very.
Are we calling it like savants, basically?
A lot of them have savant abilities,
right?
Whether in mathematics, music, all sorts of artistic endeavors. Yeah, and yeah, it starts off quite, I say, tame. You're blown away after the first episode because it's just basic telepathy, but it ramps up each episode.
What comes after telepathy then?
All sorts,
right? Okay.
Healing. There's a place called The Hill where over 1,000 of these non-verbal autistic guys go and talk to each other. There's one guy, I think he was called John Claude. He used to go into his room and pile pillows on top of his head so that he could try and block out everything so he could tune into The Hill and speak to all his mates telepathically. It's wild. It's totally wild shit, and I'm all for it. I love this. And but it's same thing. It's kind of what they speak to these guys because they're non-verbal. They use iPads and things to communicate, and they talk about this sort of awakening and not have, like you mentioned, Mark, not having the words. They say vocabulary and speaking is too limiting for us to get across what is actually happening. It's too restrictive.
Totally. That in fact, it's so restrictive that it stops us from actually getting to where we need to be. It's an actual hijack in itself. Words, they're a hijack because they limit us. Sorry to say.
Yeah, and different languages have different limiting factors. I think like ancient Greek has like loads more words than certain other languages, for example.
Totally, yeah. But for me, the biggest language of all is silence, because there's so much that's going on and there's so much you learn from it. So I was an auctioneer before I became a healer and a psychic. And so my job was to be on a microphone selling, antiques every week and spending 3-4 hours. So I was always talking. So imagine leaving all that behind, moving to a Spanish village mountain, getting a little tiny room half the size of this, and then clients coming into the room and me saying to them, I don't want to know your name. I don't want to know anything about you. I just want you to zip it. And after 50,000 sessions, 50,000 hours over these 2 decades, I learned to understand the language of silence and learned to understand the language of energy. So I could tell whether somebody's got a migraine. I could feel it. I could hear it. I could sense it. And all of my senses were working because the gob was shut and my ears were open and my senses were aware. And I could feel that maybe somebody had cancer, or they had a really issue with their knees, or they had what you would perceive to be something like depression, which it's a bullshit word and it's not true. But like I could just tell instantly after the 3 years what was wrong with my clients. And then I learned to heal that, because everything is energy, and you learn to heal it away and take that energy away. And so that your client says, oh, Jesus Christ, my headache's gone. What did you do? And I just said, clear the energy. I just cleared that trauma, that deep-rooted trauma that lies in there and is stuck there. We learn to clear it away by hands up, not hands-on, but hands just off the head. You learn to feel it and know that there's something there by way of your fingers go really tingly or hot or freezing cold. So you hang around that area, and sometimes you'll feel it in your own body as if you're a body double to them. So you can feel a pain in yourself and you think, okay, that's not my pain, that's their pain. So you might go to the liver and work on the liver. And then after an hour, they'll say, okay, I'm much better. And through no words spoken, your client can't say, first of all, that you're full of shit, or you found out about them because you didn't ask their name or anything. So then the only alternative to their thinking process is something actually happened in that room. There's no way he could have known that I had IBS. There's no way he could have known that because I never told him that. So we learned to feel energy. And in them 20 years, that's what I became a master of, just like somebody who works in a room in a white coat with a petri dish, finding out what needs to be put in where and writing it down. I did the same thing. And that's basically how I work on energy now. And somebody once said, energy doesn't lie. Okay, you can say what you want. You can be full of shit to me and tell me all sorts, but I'm not listening to your mouth. I'm not listening to what you're saying. I'm listening to the frequency and vibration of what's happening. So when you're speaking about maybe your wife's this and that, and my wife's been like this, and no, actually you've been a dick, and I feel like you're holding something inside where it feels like that you're cheating on her, and I can feel that, so you end up knowing things about somebody. And it's funny, a lot of people won't go to healers because they're petrified that they don't want to be caught out or know that they might be, have done something really bad, so it's interesting. Subject.
Are you able to do any of it remotely, or like via something like this, via Zoom, or does that kind of lessen the effect? Is it better being in the room, or what?
No. When I was doing it full time, and I used to tell everybody this like years ago when I first started my YouTube channel, when I was nervous talking, I used to say, look, I'm not one of these people who say, I was blessed as a child and I was gifted and so was my mother. Like I had to work freaking hard, right? I had to work so hard in doing the work, and it was nerve-wracking because I didn't want to get it wrong. I didn't want to hurt anybody. I didn't want to, I was always thinking, am I full of shit? Am I doing this right? Is it working? So I was always questioning myself, and I lost a lot of friends. I lost loads of family members because they thought, how can you be a psychic and a healer? You're an auctioneer. And I'd get it. I'd be the same. If my brother said, I'm going to be a ballet dancer, I'd be like, Ricky, come on, give me a break. So I get it. But I just, for some reason, wanted to do it. And I was pulled into it. in the sense of when people came into my life, when the teacher is ready, when the pupil is ready, the teacher appears. So many people appeared and started kind of guided me into. I didn't want it or ask for it, but then when it came, I got so excited. I met some amazing, powerful healers and psychics, and my first mentor was the psychic Queen of Ireland, and she used to read for FBI on cult satanic cases, and I used to hear her on the phone, talking and getting the card. She didn't get these cards out, but she got some cards out sometimes and said, the child's body is by a lake, it's down here, and like I used to overhear her, and she said, I'll teach you this, and I'm like, nah, I don't want to do that kind of stuff. I don't want people calling me up saying I've lost my keys, Mark, wherever. Right. Like, it's not what I did it for. I want somebody to come into the room and to feel better afterwards, and to heal from whatever trauma that they were going through. So if it was a guy who came and said, my wife's just pissed off with another man and taken my daughter away and said, you're never going to see him again. It's like, okay, I'm going to try and help this guy. I'm going to do everything I can to make him understand why this has happened and make him come to terms with it and be thankful for it, and know that your child will see you again and love you more than anybody in the family, because you were good and you were kind. Do everything that's right. Do go above and beyond, no matter what your wife has done. She's still, she's still the mother of your daughter, and be the better, be the stronger. So it was kind of like, without words, they were put into the client as a healing session. So they'd get up and they'd know exactly what I'd given them as a pure energy healing, because as I'm healing, I'm giving him the information of what I'm saying in my mind.
That's mad. So, Mark, do you have to like switch it on and tune in, or is it? I know you said you could do stuff over Zoom.
Yeah, I do.
Really distracting that you can sense Phil's ingrown toenails going on while we're having this podcast.
Yeah, gross.
How did you know? Are you psychic as well?
I can smell it.
That's a good point, though.
Yeah, do you have to kind of switch it on and
yes,
focus?
I do. I'm not a so-called natural psychic who just like, if you came into a room, I had to really work hard. Which means I had to quieten that stupid this monkey brain. Shut up, just shut up. So my main line was, tell your mind to shut up. That's all I used to say. Tell your mind to shut up. And I learned that from actually an Irish lady up here when I was walking up the road. And she said, are you all right, love? I said, yeah, I'm all right. She said, you don't look all right. I said, yeah, my wife's in the UK and she hasn't messaged me back for like 6 hours, and I'm worried that maybe something's happened. She says, sit down, don't just calm down. Sit down, like, you tell your mind to shut up, don't put the thoughts out there. Don't put the thoughts out there. Don't put the thoughts out there. And then within 5 minutes of sitting with her, my phone rang and she was fine. She says, I'm sorry, my phone battery went down, blah, blah, blah. And when I finished, I says, the phone's fine. It went dead. And she says, what did I tell you? What did I tell you? And I'm like, yeah. And I walked off thinking, she's right. I create my own fear and worry. So I used to worry a lot. I was very, very much that worrier type. And then now I've learned not to worry about zero. Nothing bothers me anymore. Nothing. I don't get worried about anything. I don't fear anything, or I don't want anything. I don't need anything. And I believe that everything comes in its right moment. And I trust in that universal energy, or whatever the script is, whatever you believe it may be. I just know that whatever is needed will come when it's needed. And if I'm worried or fearing, then I am going to create even more of that.
Wow. So those sort of negative thoughts, when you put them out there, they kind of act like a magnet to negative things happening.
Bit like the alcohol. If you get drunk and you get angry, then you're going to get the same energy coming back into you in ways of, like I said, attachments. And there's a lot of realms out there that are just like in this room now. I can turn the frequency to radio 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and they're all in the same room. It's just you're just tuning into that frequency of the room. And that's the same if you're in a bad energy, you tune into the same frequency of the other worlds. That can then, it's just like open season then. So I've learned, I've actually dedicated half my life now in the pursuit of finding powerful tools and ways and practices to keep negative energy at bay and to cleanse and clear against the dark entities and energies out there. So that's basically my life now. That's what I've done.
Oh, we should go. What can we do as individuals, like, to sort of keep these sort of negative energies away? Is there any tips and tricks?
Well, if you haven't been affected by anything, then you're kind of all right. The first thing is you don't start thinking about it, worrying about it. It's just like, okay, I listened to what you said. Might be bullshit, might be true. Stick it on the shelf and see what happens. And then if one day you think, oh shit, I remember that guy telling me about negative thoughts, and these aren't my thoughts, and I'm hearing stuff inside and feeling these things that don't feel like me, then you would utilize the work that I share with people. So ultimately, like I said, if you're if you are hijacking your body, because your body is like a glove and your consciousness is like a glove, but the beautiful thing about when you come into your body is it fits together like a glove. They come together beautifully. And what happens is if you start taking poisons into your body, then your bodysuit starts to mess up a bit, and then you can't get it won't connect perfectly again. So until your body's healthy. So when you're on medication, you normally find that there's a really strong chance that you are vibrating at a frequency which calls in very negative energies, and that can then be very, very subtle energies, which we call entities, and some of those entities will just kind of start to make you feel bad. And the whole point about entities and attachments is that they're trying to feed from your energy, but they can't feed from love. They don't feed from that energy of power and strength and health and well-being. That's the wrong energy. So they have to then try and change your energy. So then you start thinking bad thoughts and you start feeling bad. Thus, you create that bad thought and feeling. That's what they feed from. So we are a battery life of either positive or negative. If we vibrate at positive, then nothing can harm us because we don't feed anything. But if we vibrate at a negative energy and a low energy, then hey, they're going to come along and start feeding from us. So that's why people say, oh, I've got depression. And I'm saying, shh, lie down, give them a healing session. They get up, they start crying. I feel wonderful. I feel at peace. I don't feel any negativity. So you didn't have depression. It was just a word which was given to you. You labeled yourself it, and now you carry it around with you forever, which is the greatest hijack in the world. That's why words are spells, and you create them spells in yourself. You've not got any illness. You've just got a passing energy that's just stuck or trapped that we need to clear away. Now you're fine. And sage, if you sage yourself, you find that if you have really bad thoughts and feelings, you sage yourself, within 15 minutes, you see the difference. Basically, it's the smoke that surrounds your body. And for some reason, it has this incredible power to cleanse your body and your negative thoughts, which I believe is entity and attachments and sometimes demonic energy as well. So demonic energy is a little bit heavier, takes a little bit more time and effort to cleanse, which you'd probably call an exorcism. But still, it's for a healer, a good healer who knows what they're doing. No words are needed. It's very easy to cleanse and clear that away. So that's what I've done as well. I've done a lot of those sessions. I've got into a lot of houses and cleared out things that people just struggled in that house. They didn't know what to do because there was all sorts of crazy things happening. The child got affected, couldn't sleep, woke up with huge nightmares, dog barking for no reason, mirrors smashing, furniture moving. people like myself go into houses and we figure out what it is and who it is and what's happening. So that was my journey for 20 years. All of the above. I've done all of those things.
Funny you mentioned exorcism. I just finished, I just picked it up. People of the Lie by Scott Peck. He's not with us anymore, but he's a psychiatrist. And towards the end of the book, it goes into exorcisms. One of the things he pointed out was that it was the actual person being exorcised who did the sort of the healing, and that the people around were basically just support, like the priests and the volunteers. They were essentially just supporting the person heal themselves, essentially.
Well, that's exactly what a true healer will say. We don't heal anybody. We give the energy for the soul to heal itself. So we give the power. We work on energy. So we clear energy from the body so that the body can heal itself. Ultimately, the person heals themselves. We're just kind of like a partnership. We're just helping out, but the client has to heal themselves through it. So ultimately, they make the decision to heal themselves in the end. The consciousness can kick in then, and it's fascinating to see. And normally at the end of a good healing session, your client gets up and says, they normally use the word peace. That was the number one word over the thousands of clients. I feel peace. And there's something about that word which really resonated with me, and like, wow. And it's like, well, it's a cheap word and it's a small word, but how many people actually really understand what peace is, knowing of not having any thought and feeling of negativity, just feeling in a beautiful place without any other negative feeling. That's pretty extraordinary to get to that place. And that's 90%, 95%, I would say, of my clients would say that word. So it fascinated me. I'd write it down saying peace is the word that we need to hit on.
It's such a rarity in today's world, isn't it? Because most of us are stuck in this kind of civilization, for lack of a better word, this rat race, and our lives go 100 miles an hour. And like you said earlier, like our brains are just flooded with thoughts and responsibilities, and I've got to do this, and I've got to pick the kids up. Oh shit, my library books out. I'm gonna get fined by a library. There's a million things going through our heads constantly, and the one thing that we are lacking is sort of peace, just quiet.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, but just want to ask you guys, Matt, today, at any point when you got out of bed and did your daily routine and walked out of your door and did you stop at any point and look around and just recognize where you were and what you were doing?
Just after that big wank, lots of embarrassment.
Now the kids are at home.
Do you know what I mean, though? Do you know what I'm saying?
I do actually make a point of doing that, yes. And I did do it today, actually. I'm quite lucky. I've got a loft conversion, and it has like a big skylight on it, and I was looking outside of that basically and looking at the sky and stuff and the trees.
And when you were looking outside, if you don't mind me asking, what were your thoughts?
There were no thoughts, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now most people won't understand that, because that's what I'm trying to say. It's the moment of no speaking, no thoughts, is when you connect to that soul that you are, right? That's what I'm trying to get at. How many people actually in a day connect to that? And the truth is probably 0.001%, because we have been pulled into this magnetic black screen that makes us all want to digest, want to see the issues and the problems and the hurt and the worst things, or the famous, or what people are up to. And this is the actual program that we're in. It is a kind of virtual program to steal our energy. It wants our attention 24 hours a day. It's like the black screen is like a big baby, a selfish baby that wants us all to itself. And when you pull away from it, when you put your phone down and go for a walk in Mother Nature and not look at your phone, which very few will do, that's when you truly connect to who you are. And a healing session does it as well, because your phone's out of the way, you're lying down, and for 1 hour, you're receiving a healing session where, you get to the point where, like, wow, I didn't know that you could feel like this. I didn't know that there was a place like this existed. And once that hour's up, then you can say to your client, well, at least now you felt it. And now it's up to you to hold on to it. It's now up to you to nurture it. And at any point, if somebody knocks you off balance and you lose this feeling you've got now, then that is your first lesson to figure out how to, what's made you become out of balance. And that's what you need to fix in your life. So I also gave people homework as well. And that's a good thing, because people need to recognize, actually, it's my mother-in-law. She's driving me up the wall. Okay, well, now you need to figure out how you're going to deal with that and fix it. So, or it might be my wife, or it might be my, neighbor, or it could be my boss. Yeah. But and it's not like saying, I'm not saying run away from everything. That's the problem with spirituality. Everybody seems to think we're trying to tell people to run away. That wasn't what we were saying when we first said it. Now we've got a world of woke, people who are frightened of everything that anybody's going to say to them. That's not what we meant. We meant that you need to face up to it and figure it out and be strong to make the changes necessary. And if you are walking away, you walk away with love and not with anger.
I think you've got to be very intentional about doing these types of things as well. Because like we were saying before, it's very easy to get caught up in, that the rat race, everything is going 100 miles an hour or whatever. But you have to actually practice it, basically. So like the phone thing, I can lose half an hour just like doom scrolling or whatever on YouTube Shorts mainly. So I have to put it somewhere else, basically, intentionally, so that I don't have it and I have to go and do something else, basically, or nothing, as the case may be, and just focus on the thing that I'm doing rather than looking at the phone.
These things are hardwired to tap into our monkey brains, that reward system, that dopamine hit, TikTok and Instagram shorts and all that. So it's such a dangerous road to go down, and you do have to do. I'm the same. I actually have to intervene and put the phone in the other side of the room. Otherwise, I'll catch myself. I've just wasted 20 minutes.
What was that intervention then? Was that your brain, or was it that your consciousness kicking in, saying, "Hey, you're being zapped here. You're being hoodwinked."
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where it comes from, Mark. Is it? It's like is it just a realization, or is it just it's like a feeling for me. It's like a feeling of disappointment. When you catch yourself in the act, and you think, I've just spent half an hour here looking at Twitter, which is a lot of nonsense.
Your consciousness. That's your consciousness, because your consciousness is kicking in and is disappointed or extremely, and then there's a guilt feeling, and then there's a battle between the mind and the consciousness. Well, and so it's your consciousness. I believe that was your consciousness kicking in.
You're right. It's an emotional reaction. It's not a logic. It's not a brain reaction thinking, I've just spent 30 minutes where I could have been doing X, Y, and Z. It's an emotional reaction. It's like a feeling of not dirty. like a disappointing, like, God, why have I done that? Why have I wasted that time? So you bang on. It's something.
That's your consciousness kicking in. So at least you're still wired up to your consciousness, which is a great thing.
It's hanging on by a thread.
a lot. Yeah. That's all of us is, with the spraying and everything that's going on in the food. But a lot of us had a severe cut when people decided to take certain things in their arm that really messed up the connection between the body and the consciousness. That was hijacked deliberately. And I put it out there soon as it began. I said, guys, please just hold back from doing anything. It's not as bad as what you think. It's all been it's all out there to try and sever your consciousness. And a lot of people listened, thank God, and a lot of didn't. And those who didn't came back to me and said, Mark, why is it that I don't feel myself anymore? I just can't connect anymore. And I'm like, this is what I was worried about. This is the message I got from, I believe, my world, your world. And I was trying to help people. So I think we helped a few thousand, but people are now detoxing, which is a great thing. So hopefully that's going to make a difference. Please God, make a difference to people.
And stop taking it as well, because like from what I saw, the numbers have dropped off a cliff. You know, because they're still offering it to people, like frontline health workers. I think it's down to in the 20s now % of healthcare workers who are still taking it. So you know, people are finding out.
Yeah,
you know,
and it's just awful that they're finding out the hard way.
well, I think it was always going to be that way, Mark.
I
You know,
know,
you had
it's
the whole
just not
state.
nice.
You had the whole state propaganda working on people. The mind games. That Dobbs book, something Fear, Project Fear, was it called? I forgot.
Project Fear, yeah.
But you know, the whole
Sure.
ramp up in the 12 months previous to the rollout. You know, working on people, getting them to go to the end of their driveway and clap. All this sort of programming that people went through. I don't. You know, I can't blame people. I don't blame anyone for taking it. You know.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I just had an awful feeling in my gut, and that was normally like when people used to. If somebody came up into the room and I had an awful feeling in my gut, it would normally be something very severe. So maybe they've lost a family member, maybe they've got cancer in their body, maybe they've just gone through heartbreak, maybe they've just found their wife in bed with another man. There's this feeling in your gut that it's really this is really bad. I got the same feeling soon as the first mention of something that was coming out that would go into people's arms, and I got the same feeling. And I always follow that gut feeling, always. And I wish I was wrong, but it now is obvious that it was a right feeling.
You mentioned earlier about detoxing. I imagine people can detox in sort of their lifestyle, like we mentioned, putting the phones away, turning the screens off every now and again. What about sort of physical detoxing, like supplements and things like that? What can people do to get themselves healthier?
Well, there's certain herbs that Mother Nature gives us, and that's really my suggestion. Dom's big into, and I've used Dom stuff, you know, the health products, which are basically powders that are in capsule form or just powder form that you would take. They call them vitamins or minerals. There's so much you can do. I'm not a doctor, so it's not my place to talk about these things. But what I did do is, you know, I tried to channel some certain things that might help with the detox. And funnily enough, now science has just caught up and they're now saying 2 of the things that I mentioned, they're now mentioning. So it's great to know that science does sometimes, the real scientists, I'm not talking about the hijacked ones, the liars, the cheats, and the ones who'll sell the soul. I'm talking about people who care about humanity. And it's really interesting. And curcumin, which is turmeric, is again a nice, roots are fantastic. So look to the roots. So yeah, roots are great. And I don't know why I was doing this live and I saw this horse's head, and I'm saying to people, I don't know what this is, but they're showing me a horse's head, and I could see this horse's head with its hair flowing, and this guy must have attuned to it and looked online, and he saw horsetail herb, horsetail. It's like a plant, and I'm like, yes, I saw the horse's hair. It's the horse. Yes. Anyway, it ends up that now that is one of the major things of the detox. So I'm like, yeah, it's great when you get the confirmation. And in the horsetail, it's natural. What's it called? In cigarettes, nicotine. It's natural, real natural nicotine. And now the science is saying nicotine. That's why people who were smoking weren't dropping dead, whereas the others who weren't smoking were dying. So if you look into that, you'll see there's truth in that now that real science is mentioning horsetail. So yeah, it's fascinating.
Oh, you mentioned cumin and turmeric. I've heard these being discussed fairly recently.
It's the same thing,
supplements.
by the way. It's just different parts of the same
Right.
root.
Is it like an antioxidant?
It's everything, yeah. It's like it's basically a healing for your whole body. It just it's like you put something into your body and it electrifies it and gives it the energy that needs to clear things away. So there's obviously stuff inside it that will chemically or physically do something. And they say that it will take the spike protein and distribute that out of the body system. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I don't know anything about that. But it's just funny how when you attune to things, not being a doctor, but then it ends up that they then start saying, the real doctors I'm talking about, not the mainstream. I'm talking about real doctors who are wanting to help people, who are seeing what's going on right now. But then there's the issue, of course, in the body that without people realizing they've got like a lot of metals in their body. So that's another thing that you need to clear out of your body, heavy metals.
Right. And how are we getting poisoned with the heavy metals? Is that water supply? Is it pollution?
So I'll just show you. I don't know if I threw it away. No, I've still got it. So here, this is a vial from my dentist. And if you listen to a lot of, in Spain, there's a group on Facebook, dentists. I think there's about 300. And they were showing you in the vials that there's graphene oxide in these now. So the injections that you put in your mouth, they're injecting you with that. So what I did, I brought this with me because I needed an injection to sort a tooth out. And the dentists were allowing me to do this.
Oh, is that a magnet?
It's a magnet, that's right. It's a high-powered magnet, and you pull all the heavy metals down, and then she went inside just halfway and took that and left the rest in the bottom. So that's just one thing, but there's so many things now that have these particles in them. And the reason why is they're wanting to change humanity into basically a kind of, I guess the nearest thing I could think is an aerial that antenna that will vibrate at the frequency that whatever frequency they want out of you, or whatever they want to manipulate with you with energy and wave through the towers and through Musk's stuff. That I don't know if you know anything about this, but if you look into a guy called Barry Trower back in the 1950s, 60s, he left the military because what he was seeing was horrific. And that was that they were testing microwaves on pregnant women and children. And they were seeing that they can actually target certain body parts with these microwaves. So it's basically a weaponized system. So he left and started telling people about this. So I many years ago, I looked into it and started realizing, wow, this is real. So you imagine if you've ever had a microwave, which you shouldn't, but if you've ever had a microwave and you accidentally leave a spoon in there or a knife in there or any kind of silver foil, you shut it and switch it on and see what happens. So if you've got heavy metals in your body and there is a frequency that is fired at you as a microwave, guess what's exploding in your body? And now all of a sudden you see a man falling down and you think, oh, he's just had an heart attack. It's not like a guy across the road has a gun and shot you. Now you can see what shot you and what killed you and who did it. Right. But if it's frequencies that are fired at you, which are happening every day, you just need to look into it. And there's people who are fighting hard to prove that the government have backpacks made for the army that basically shoot out frequencies that absolutely destroy people, cook them from the inside. These are all new weaponized systems. I'm not making this up, guys. It sounds like, George Orwell or, some kind of crazy. It's all there. And,
you just
need to...
It's not even that new. I mean, the heart attack gun goes back to like the 70s, I think. Anyone can go on YouTube. Just go onto YouTube and search, I think, CIA heart attack gun, and there's you can see some US House Senate committee or something talking about this weapon that they developed where you could just pop someone off from 30 yards or whatever.
And what about the weaponized systems from above? You know, they can target somebody's body part. So the frequency can be your brain, a certain part of the brain, the liver, the kidneys. They can even put thoughts into your mind. They can even put words into your mind. So it goes so deep. But the point being, even if you think that's bullshit, you're better off trying to clear as many metals out of your body as you can. Right. Full stop.
I mean, we need some metals, don't we need iron? Like, there's
certain natural...
naturally occurring things.
Absolutely. I'm talking about things that shouldn't be there. Right. Aluminium, mercury, graphene oxide is the biggest issue, because what that does, I don't know if you ever saw the video of the three scientists. They were like, it was like a wet dream to them. They were like jumping with joy. So they found that graphene oxide, when put into a dish and put into a microwave, it starts to multiply and dance, and it's almost like got a life of its own. So imagine that back then in the 70s when they figured that out, what they've done with it now and how they can manipulate it and how it can, it can move around. It's like, why are they putting it into food source? Why are they putting it into vegetables? Why are they injecting it into fruits? Why are they injecting it into everything now, into meats? It's going everywhere. It's everywhere. So this is why I think it's really simple. A simple thing is to just try and clear the heavy metals from your body that shouldn't be in there. And I don't know if it's possible. And I don't know if, I mean, a friend of mine didn't take any injections. They went down to a local blood place where they check your blood, and the lady got him in front of the computer, and they were looking at his blood, and she said, "Do you see that there?" And he said, "Yeah, what is that?" She says, "That's graphene oxide." And I'm like, "Seriously?" He went, "Yeah, I'm not kidding you." And she said, "We need to get rid of this." So this isn't something that we're making up. This is something that's happening. So I said, I want to go for a blood test now at the same place. I want to find out if my blood is clear. And if not, I'll be working on how to clear it out of my body. So basically, we're in a spiritual war, for sure. And we're also in a war against our bodies. And they want us virtually sick, and they want us to be a kind of automaton, a robot, and they want us to basically be a mind hive. They want us to be a Borg energy. So if we're all got this metal in our body, and then they're sending frequencies to want us to feel in a certain way, they want us to be think, they want us to fear, then we're basically hijacked then, aren't we? So it makes sense to keep your body clean as possible, I think, anyway. What do you think? Does that sound like a lot of bullshit to you, though?
No, I can buy it. I remember when my kids were young and they used to watch Thomas the Tank Engine, and I remember like the ongoing message through every episode was, you have to be a really useful engine. To be really useful, you have to be a really useful engine over and over and over again, every episode. Wow. It's just drumming it into their heads from the age of 4. You've got to be really useful. Be a useful cog in society. Turn up, clock in, take your fucking your peasant wage and shut the fuck up.
Yeah,
basically.
That's right. And the elite get more powerful. They have the bigger yachts. They've got a new condo in another, or maybe an island. And we're just a slave race, basically.
Yeah.
Unless we break out of the matrix, so to speak. I know it's a stupid word these days, but it really is break out of the illusion that my dad was in. My dad started a job and worked 27 years of his life, never took a day off. And when he saw me, coming back home and saying, why aren't you at work? I don't want to work there anymore. He went crazy. He went absolutely crazy, ape shit. And I said, I'm not going to work at a job to end up coming home like you, miserable and beating on us. I'm going to find something I enjoy. What I didn't realize is that when he died, my sister says, my dad went for a job to become an electrician because his dream was to be an electrician, but they turned him down, and he was so full of pride that he went for just any job. So he became a finisher, and he hated his job, and he used to beat up on us and get drunk because he hated his job. So funny how I hit on that, right? I saw that my dad was miserable, and I didn't want to be miserable. I want to find some. So I had like 100 jobs. I'd go into work in the morning and leave at 10 o'clock, walk out the door.
Yeah. The same.
Like, where's he going? No idea. Just like when I was at school, I just say, I'm not going to school. I'm not sitting here anymore. I just walk out. But I think you've got to be that way inclined. I think I think if you've been beat up as a kid, I think things don't bother you as much. I think you become quite stronger in nature, and like you don't put up with shit. And you might get scared, and it affects you for the rest of your life. My mate said to me once, Andrew said, I feel really sorry for you. And I was smiling. I was only a little kid. And I said, why? He says, because every time I come over the fence, your dad's beating you. And I didn't even realize, because I didn't know I got beat every day. Like, he used to walk around the garden and look and see if there was any footprints in the soil. And if he saw a footprint, he'd whack me. Now, I used to play in the garden with my ball. I'm going to get the ball in the vegetable patch, and I'm gently, like, really careful and trying to rub it when I finish, like, Native Indians, so they don't get caught. Like, but he'd always know that that's where you, and he gave me a whack. So it was his form of, I was an emotional punch bag for his hate of his life.
Wow.
But then it made me stronger. So I get upset when people say things, but it doesn't bother me, and I don't shake about it. I just continue and keep going because of what my dad did. So I'm thankful for it.
That's like kind of the opposite of the what's it mother, the Freudian
Devouring mother.
Devouring mother, yeah. It's like the exact opposite. It's funny, you've sort of derived a sense of self-reliance and sort of structural strength from a hellish experience as a child.
Yeah, and you actually learn certain things to, like, for me, I'm one who used to run away, and still do at times, run away from situations rather than face them head on. So, there's obviously things that happen as the physical and the mental to what you go through as a child, So you have to battle that, and you have to become the stronger, because a lot of people say that when you're abused as a kid, you then become the abuser. I've never lifted my hand to my children. I've loved them with all my heart, So I've broken the mold of my father, which I think is a wonderful thing. And I think that's what a lot of us need to learn to do, break the mold of our fathers. I've still got a lot of molds to break, but getting there every day, or trying.
We've had a few guests talk about how our parents have fucked us up. And thing is, like, you can't do right for doing wrong.
No,
there's no manual that comes with them. You've just got to figure it out on your own. Like, do the best you can, I suppose.
Yeah, I don't. I never hold anything against your parents. What I speak about my dad, I laugh about it now, and I'm thankful for it because it's made me who I am. But I never, like, I'm not that person who blames. I mean, that's just wrong. Don't blame anybody. Just what you're going to do about it, What are you going to do about it? So yeah, going back to, healing is a fantastic thing for anybody to at least to try. Go for a healing session. I'm talking about energy healing, whatever it may be. It could be like our beautiful family of pure energy healers are amazing. They're all over the world, but there's so many different forms of healing. As long as it's energy healing, there's pranic healing, there's Reiki healing, there's loads of different forms of healing, but ultimately they're all very similar. You get a good healer and go for a healing session, guys. Just go for one healing session, even if you think it's bullshit. Just go and just see. Because 9 times out of 10, you come away and something happens that can't be explained, and you become a different you. It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. The changes I saw in grown men who had no belief system, that after a healing session, their whole life changed. Children change. You know, if we could learn to heal each other as children, there wouldn't be hardly any bullying or any negativity, because in a healing session, there's an exchange of something that can't be explained, but then you become attached to that person. So in some way, shape, and form, there's some kind of energetic attachment, and it's absolutely beautiful. And the darkness knows this, and the system knows this. And it does not want energy healers in schools. They will do everything they can. And that's why they want bullying, because you're all separated and you're not together. They want you not to be with anybody. The black screen wants you to hate everybody and segregate everybody, so that you are on your own. And eventually you will be a loner, and you'll feel that you'll have no voice. And that's when they get you as the slave. It's very clever how it works.
Do you think that being a healer is open to anyone, or do you have some sort of special gift, or maybe is it on a spectrum?
If you're a paedophile, no, definitely not. But you'll not get a paedophile wanting to be, not to my knowledge anyway, because they're monsters. They're a different energy. But I do talk about that a lot these days. But yeah, if you're a beautiful soul, if you're somebody who doesn't believe in anything, even better. It's a good place to start.
Really?
If you're a non-believer, no, I love non-believers.
Right.
I love it. They're the easiest people to turn into healers, because they've got no preconceived notion about anything. So when something spectacular happens, and it's only a small thing, to them it's huge. So I had a guy, I often got Germans coming here because they're all on the Costa del Sol, but one guy who came here, German guy, it was first of all, he threw up, and that was quite common when you're going through a 4-day pure energy healing course. A lot of the times you'll feel nauseous, or you'll feel like you just want to chuck up, or you'll cry, or you'll go through some deep trauma. And he threw up, and that was the time when I said, the next course, I said, anybody who throws up has to clean your own sick up, right? Because I ended up having to clean his sick up, and I'm like, I'm not doing that again. But yeah, after that, something happened, and then it was like a really hard regimental guy turned into a soft pudding, and he was a brilliant healer and went on to do some amazing work. And yeah, when you're already a healer, it's kind of like, well, you kind of know certain feelings and energies, so it is still beautiful. But I like non-believers, or those who come and say, I don't know why I'm here. I love that. Love that.
How many have you trained up now? How many healers, man?
I don't know. Thousands. Wow. Thousands now. Thousands all over the world. It's great to watch them grow as well.
Yeah, I was looking at your website, and it's like you've got some names there, and it's all like filtered down different countries all over the world. It's like, wow, there's people all over every continent.
Yeah, yeah, that's just 5%. It's just 5%. Most of them don't want to be on my website. Most of them aren't bothered, and that's great. I get it. Some people come, and they come because maybe the child's autistic and they want to learn how to heal the child and make them feel better. So, you imagine the thousands of people aren't on the website. They're all over, and they're doing great work for family. So it's like, if you just go for a crash 2-day course in, helping people, mouth to mouth and all that. It's a kind of, I kind of see it similar, just learning something that should be in all schools. Once you've understood it and learnt it, if you go into the mountains of Tibet, it's normal. There's no pharmacy. Right. The monks are working on energy down like here and there, moving it around. This is normal, right? So when you go to places like that, it's normal, but here it's not. It's like incense. This is my incense, right? I light it outside here, and people are looking at me as if there's something wrong with me. I'm crazy, right? I go to Bali, and I light my sage, and it's like everybody lights the sage every morning. Everybody is using incense all over. You smell it everywhere. So it's like, you can't say to somebody, this is bullshit. You could say it's bullshit in your world, but it's not in somebody else's world. So, there's so much ego within us, and there's so much, well, if I don't understand it and I don't see it and know it, then it's bullshit. Like, what's wrong with you? Why do you think like that? You need to get out more.
Yeah, it's cognitive dissonance, and like, this doesn't fit with my worldview, my paradigm. Therefore, it can't be true. And it's too painful. You know, if it is true, it's too painful to recognize because it turns your worldview upside down.
Isn't that a default? Would you call it a default? Like you go back to a certain point, which is always negative. It never seems to be a positive at the end of it. Wow, that's really interesting. Why are you doing that? What can you tell me? Explain to me. That's how I was. When I first came here, I wanted to experience everything that I've never seen before. Like, what's that smell? I don't particularly like it, because the first time I went to a place where I was hijacked to go, very cleverly, it was a Danish circle of people who were sending healing, and I thought I was going there to do something else. And I could, all of a sudden, they put this music on and this smell, and it brought me back to my Catholic days of being an altar boy and nearly raped by my priest. Like, that, what the hell is this? And I'm like panicking, because all of a sudden they all started going, together. And then I thought, I'm in a cult. This is a cult. And I'm panicking. And I'm thinking, I swear to God, I'm thinking, I need to get out of here quick. What if they've locked the door? What if they've locked the door and I'm like trying to get out? I'm going to look stupid. And then the lady who invited me just looked at me and she said, calm down, close your eyes. And that was the start of my journey.
Wow. Well, Mark, we've blown over an hour already. Can't believe it. We're gonna
Really?
have to, yeah, no, we're going to have to let you go.
No worries, pal. It was really great talking to you. And I hope, even if you get one thing out of this conversation, then I think the work's done. But I really mean this from the bottom of my heart. Thanks for having me on, because, most people would struggle to have somebody like myself on their channel because of, maybe the fact that it might be woo-woo, crazy.
Oh, no, you're welcome.
No, definitely. And we'll have you back again, hopefully, before too long. I'll tell you what my takeaway is, on a personal level, is the stopping and just being...
Telling your mind to shut up.
Telling my mind, because I'm such a twat for it. I can't have 5 minutes of peace. Even if I'm walking the dog, I have to have a podcast on. If I'm washing up, I have to be listening to an audiobook. I have to be doing something. I have to be taking something in at all fucking times. So that's my takeaway, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Taking 5 minutes. I'm going to try meditating or something.
I'm going to sage the house.
Yes.
See what happens.
Oh, yeah.
Do it right. Do it properly, though. Lots of people who sage the house don't make mistakes. There's too little sage. Watch some of my videos on saging. Right, okay. My second most popular video tells you how to do it properly. And if you need some sage, let me know, and I'll send you a nice box over for you all to share and go through it. In fact, send me your address, and I'll send you some goodies over, some really beautiful crystals as well.
Oh, wicked, yeah. I'll do that, yeah. We could have one in the studio, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Keep the energy, because we're completely bombarded by EMFs in here. We got a fucking computer going, the roadcaster.
This is what you want. I'll send you some shungite over. That's fantastic.
Nice. Oh, well, wicked. Well, this has been fantastic, Mark. All the links are in the show notes if you want to check out Mark's website. markbajerski.com. Is that the best place to go?
Fans only. I'm just kidding. No.
It's been great. Lots of fun. We'll see you in Davos in a couple of weeks, right?
Oh yeah. And from there we're going to just stick with Davos for now.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be a wild week, won't it?
Are you bringing the hookers?
Yeah.
Bring my big shill mic.
Yeah. You bring the hookers, I'll bring the blow.
Good stuff. Looking forward to it, guys. Thanks so much for having me.
All right, Mark.
Cheers, Mark.
Take care. See you soon. Share the links in the show notes.
Yeah.
Ta-ra. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, we'll be back in like 10 minutes to do some news and stuff.
Yeah.
If you want to hang around.
Stick around.
Stick around.
Yeah.
Right. Oh. Right, we're going this time, definitely. Bye.